We are a river city, a bold city, the First Coast, a place to create and to belong. Here, the sun shines a little brighter, and so do the people. We share a love for our region, a pride for Jacks, and a passion for the beautiful game, dedicated to giving everyone a sporting chance. Together, we will elevate soccer and sport in our community by lifting every voice. We are Sporting Club Jacksonville. We are Sporting Jacks.
Hello and welcome into the Sporting Jacks Report. I'm Cole Pepper. Coming up, what we learned in the first weekend of the USL Championship season, a look at the next round of the Champions League, and we hear from the state champions from St. John's Country Day. But let's start with the kickoff of the USL Championship season. Our first USL Championship game of the week for 2025 found the newest member of the championship opening its first season in the league at home as Lexington SC welcomed Hartford Athletic. To Kentucky we go. And over 5,000 on hand at Lexington SC to see the team that had been in the League One prior. And early on, they got a reason to celebrate. A home goal by Joe Hafferty. Watch this blast. Oh, absolutely crushes it. Hafferty, the defender, had scored one goal with Las Vegas in 26 games over the last two seasons. Scores in his first game for Lexington to give Lexington SC the lead. It would remain that way until the second half, when Braudio Rodriguez sets it up for Elliot Goldthorpe. And look at Goldthorpe put it away all alone, 1v1, 2-0, Lexington with the lead. In the final stages, things got a little chippy for Hartford Athletic. A red card comes. They get Emmanuel Samadia just shoving down a player. And so that was in the stoppage time. They finished the game at a one-man disadvantage, but Lexington would finish with the 2-0 victory. Lexington SC makes their USL Championship debut with a victory. We now welcome in Mauricio Ruiz. Mal, it was a very impressive debut in the championship for Lexington.
Yeah, Cole, you never really know what kind of debut teams are going to have when they move up a division. But we had a feeling that Lexington had been preparing themselves quite significantly as far as roster building in the offseason. They did move a lot of players from League One into their championship roster, but they brought some key players as well. So playing at home helps. Getting that first jitters, at home, getting your fan support goes a long way. But, I think it's going to be important for them to get going early, as we've seen other teams in the past really struggle if they didn't get a fast start.
All right, let's pivot to the rest of the games and talk about the three biggest things you learned from the opening weekend. Loudoun United, a 3-1 winner on the road at Birmingham Legion. They started off with a bang.
They did. Now, can they sustain it? They had a pretty good season last year. If you remember, Loudoun United is a sister club, or used to be a sister club of DC United when DC United played in MLS. They played in the USL as a two-team. But since last year, officially, Loudoun United separated from their parent club, and now they operate on their own. And they still had a lot of older, young academy players on their roster, but now they're independent and they have their own track record, and that's a great start for them against a really good team as well in Birmingham. 3-0 win, it's a pretty impressive start.
We also saw an impressive victory for Sacramento, 2-1 winners over New Mexico United in a real featured matchup in the opening weekend. New Mexico United played with 10 men for more than a half.
Yeah, and Sac Republic, we know that they're one of the marquee teams in the league. They made it to the U.S. Open Cup final only a few years ago. A bit of a down year last year. Coach Mark Briggs maybe on the way out already. He had pretty much done all he could, at Sac Republic. They're under a new tutelage, and it's a new regime for them now. And it's a great start against New Mexico, because New Mexico was up in that game, actually. Then they got the red card, the equalizing PK, and eventually Sacramento got the win. But impressive rivalry there, with New Mexico being a really strong team as well.
Also out west, Orange County, maybe the most entertaining game of the weekend. 4-2 winners over Oakland Roots. OC built a 3-0 lead in the first 52 minutes, and then put it out of reach in stoppage time.
Yeah, and Oakland Roots is not a bad team. I mean, that 4-2 result is a really good result because Oakland Roots was strong last year. They were inconsistent at times. But Orange County, they've been one of the better franchises in the USL Championship for a really long time. Last couple of years, they've had a bit of a downturn, but they've done really well. They were competing for for the West Conference Championship not too long ago, and they have expectations. And one of the players we'll talk about is Pedro Guimarães, young player there. They give a lot of young player opportunities, and they transfer a lot of players overseas as well. So a really good start for a really good club.
All right, time now for Mauricio's Corner. And this week we're taking a look at 3 impact players who are new to their teams. 2 are new to the league. 1 is a familiar name in the championship. Let's start with the player of the week in the USL Championship, Sacramento's Lewis Jamison, a goal and an assist in his first game in America.
Yeah, what a start! What a welcome to the league. Young player. Oftentimes we see these European players, Lewis being Scottish, come a little bit later in their career when they've kind of tested out the European cycle and they eventually come to the US and have a good career here. 22 years old. He came from Red Rovers, which was his current manager where he was last year as well. And what a great partnership with Cicerone up there. Lewis plays right underneath the forward, but likes to get late into the box. And he was impressive. Several shots outside of the box, and he got the game-winning goal. But he's a tackler. He runs around. He's kind of that modern-day number 10 that not only can create in the final third, but actually does a lot of stuff in the midfield too. So pretty good start, impressive player, and a new blood into the league.
Now let's also talk about a guy you just brought up a moment ago with Orange County. That's Pedro Guimarães. What a debut for him.
Yeah, Cole, this is a special player, former LAFC academy player that was going to continue on the academy pathway at LAFC in Orange County, right next door. Offered him a pro contract at 15 years old. He's now 16, soon to be 17 in April. He just helped the U.S. under-17 qualify for the World Cup. Beautiful left foot, really well tenured, left back. Likes to get forward, good body on him. He doesn't really look like a 16-year-old. He certainly doesn't play like one. And I think he's the player that the USL continues to attract that are kind of caught in academy systems that aren't getting their first team opportunity or they're getting a B team opportunity. He's playing men's league football now and men's football, and he did really well. So it's a player that not only to watch for in the USL, but a player that I foresee in the next 2 years actually competing at an international level for the U.S.
And finally, a familiar name, different place, Charleston signing Cal Jennings this offseason. He's a guy who really knows how to impact a game at the USL Championship level.
Yeah, and we all had a bit of a mystery waiting period in the offseason when Cal did not re-sign with Tampa Bay Rowdies, where he had a really good career. I mean, pretty much scored in every other game. And he did the same thing with Las Vegas Lights. Prolific goal scorer, and when he did not return to the Rowdies, kept everybody waiting. Where was he going to sign? And everybody's surprised, Cole. Many thought he'd be out of the league, kind of going to Europe, and he re-signs what I would imagine to be one of the highest paid players in the league to Battery, a conference foe in the Eastern Conference Final. Slow start. Battery had a red card in the game against a tough opponent in Louisville. Cal didn't have many chances. But he's certainly a player to keep looking at, and he's probably the biggest name with the new home going into this season. So a lot of eyes would be on what Cal will do for the Battery.
All right, let's turn our attention to the Champions League now. This week, the second legs of the round of 16 were completed, and now we're down to 8 teams remaining. Mauricio, who was the most impressive to you in the round of 16?
Yeah, cool. I think it's going to be really difficult to put out Barcelona right now. I mean, they're just powerful. They're moving forward. Liverpool's out. And I think that's the team that everybody was expecting to do more. PSG finally kind of got over that hump of beating a big opponent away at Anfield, which we know it's not an easy feat. The game went to PKs. Eventually, PSG won in PK. So with Liverpool out, and I think everyone had Liverpool because of their campaign this year as a favorite. I think Barcelona now takes that mental. Real Madrid, a team to still be looking after, but Barcelona is certainly a team that everyone will be expecting to go all the way.
All right, well, the quarterfinals get underway next month, and the finals will be played on May the 31st in Berlin. More USLW and USL League Two players being added to the Sporting Jacks rosters. Marshall's Maria Chavez brings international experience to Jacksonville, having played for the Portugal U23 national team. Midfielder Brooke Nelson has been a star at Georgia State, where she was the Newcomer of the Year in 2023. Manuela Restrepo Ramirez, a name known to local soccer fans. She plays at JU and has represented Colombia on the U20 team for that nation. And Shadia Valenzuela has also played for that team. The forward scored 11 goals and added 4 assists in 23 games at Montevelo College last season. On the men's side, the USL League Two team has added Tristan Adams back for another season with Sporting Jacks. The defender from San Diego played with Florida Elite's USL League Two team last season. Forward Ryan Lee comes from UNC Wilmington, where he scored a goal and 2 assists in last season, coming off an injury. Midfielder Tyler Prebenda is an Orlando native, but he's been playing for the UNF Ospreys. He saw some action with Orlando City B in 2023. And Ryan Avalone, a midfielder from Liberty University, who cut his teeth in Winter Park. He previously played for the College of Charleston. The season for both the USLW and USL League Two will begin in May and run through July. Come join Sporting Jacks at the 16th annual Stand Up and Stride Domestic Violence Awareness Walk on March 29th. The event supports the great work done by Hubbard House in our neighborhood. The event opens at 8 a.m. and the walk starts at 9. To register, use the QR code on the screen. We'll see you downtown starting March the 29th for this great event. And season tickets are now on sale for Sporting Jacks' inaugural season in the USL Super League. We'll kick off at Hodges Stadium in August. Tickets start as $10 per game for students and go up to the field seats and premium hospitality. Join the movement and be part of the first professional women's team in Jacksonville. Go to sportingjacks.com for more information. Still to come, Becky Burleigh joins us to take a closer look at the top team in the USL Super League, Brooklyn FC. That's next as the Sporting Jacks report rolls on. You can catch every USL Super League game streaming on Peacock. All 8 teams in action coming up this evening. Spokane Zephyr hosts DC Power at 5. Brooklyn FC and Fort Lauderdale in a big matchup at 6. At 7:30, you have your pick of Lexington versus Dallas or the Tampa Bay Sun hosting Carolina. Every game all season long streaming on Peacock. Let's take a look at the Super League action from the past weekend, and we start with Spokane Zephyr hosting Carolina Ascent. And it didn't take long for Carolina to get an early goal here. Audrey Harding sets up Ellie Hutchinson, who puts it away in the 5th minute, and Carolina take the lead. They were not done. 30th minute, off the corner. Jenna Butler puts it away. It's 2-0. They go on to a 2-1 victory over Spokane Zephyr. You like goals? How about Dallas Trinity and Brooklyn FC? First, it's Chioma Ubagagu. Then just before the half, Cameron Lancaster. Then another one from Allie Thornton. She scored a brace. Lexi Missimo scores for Dallas. Lucy Shepard finishes things off. A 6-0 Dallas Trinity victory over the top team in the league, Brooklyn FC. More on that in just a moment. Fort Lauderdale, a DC against Lexington here. And this was a matchup in DC on a chilly day where Lexington got on the board early on. Julie Mackin gives Lexington the early lead. They would go on to a 2-1 victory. Now to the Florida Derby, Fort Lauderdale and Tampa. And it started early with Jasmine Hamid scoring in the 8th minute. Didn't take long, though, for Tampa Bay to equalize. Cecile Nielsen-Fleur puts it away right out in front. A little chip over the top, and we're tied at 1. That is the way the game would end, a 1-1 draw with the two teams from the state of Florida in a deadlock. Let's take a look at the standings now in the USL Super League as we've gotten the second half of the season underway. Despite the loss, Brooklyn still leads 31 points, but it's getting a little more congested at the top with Fort Lauderdale and Carolina both closing to within 3 points of the team at the top. The top 4 teams in the standings will make the playoffs at the end of the season, so a little bit of work to do for Tampa Bay, who sits right now in 5th. And now we welcome in Becky Burleigh. Becky, past couple of weeks we've talked about the Florida teams in the USL Super League. So let's focus now on the team at the top of the table. Brooklyn has been the class of the league so far. How have they done it?
You know, I think they've done it with a relatively conservative style of play, but also with a group that has gotten a lot of cohesion. You know, they're one of the teams that hasn't really made a lot of changes, and I think that plays into their favor in terms of not having to integrate new players in the second half.
That was a huge question for all of these teams. You set your roster, you get who you can bring in, and you think you have it right, but you really don't know until you start seeing everybody play together for the first time in a league that's playing for the first time. So you can understand why Brooklyn, that had a comfortable lead at the break, didn't make a bunch of moves. Are they going to regret not making those moves after all these other teams have seemed to catch up?
That's a really good question because, you know, in the first half, it's kind of like, if it's not broken, why fix it? And now you're looking at it, and those standings are getting tighter and tighter, and certainly their 6-0 loss, I hope that's just an anomaly. I think with most teams, you got to throw out your best game and your worst game and figure out that's what you are somewhere in the middle. But the cool thing about them, they get a bounce-back game playing in Coney Island for the first time, and this game seems to be garnering a ton of attention. So I think they're going to have a great crowd to support behind them, and hopefully they can bounce back from that loss.
Yeah, I was just going to mention there's going to be no lack of focus for Brooklyn coming up against Fort Lauderdale, probably the hottest team in the league right now. A game like this at this point of the season, still a lot of the campaign yet to play, but this could be a statement game for one of these teams.
It's certainly going to be a statement game for Brooklyn because, you know, sometimes you have a game where you just need to flush it, and that 6-0 game might be that for them. But besides the flushing it part, you've got to see how you're going to respond. And that, I think that is going to be a real statement piece for them. Like, what's it like when they face a little adversity? Because honestly, they haven't had that much so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll talk about that game certainly next week. Becky, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you on radio next week.
Sounds great.
If you sign up for season tickets now for the USL Super League season, you'll receive a limited edition inaugural season scarf. Be part of the first pro women's team in Jacksonville history. Go to sportingjacks.com for more. Still to come, our youth soccer spotlight. They've won a championship yet again, 15th in school history for St. John's Country Day. How the Spartans did it with grit and adaptability. That's next. In the not-too-distant future, Sporting Jacks will be unveiling the inaugural kit, but you can already get official Sporting Jacks merchandise, from shirts and hats to sweatshirts and scarves. Head to sportingjacks.com/shop or hit that QR code on your screen to get your official club gear today. Time now for the Youth Soccer Spotlight presented by the Bearded Pig Barbecue, and this week we are celebrating another local state champion, St. John's Country Day. Mike Pickett's girls won the state title for the 15th time in school history. After winning 11 straight, the Spartans missed out on the title the past 2 years. But this year, with the team Pickett called one of the toughest and most adaptable teams he's ever coached, they overcame obstacles and changes to deliver a 4-0 win in the finals and add another championship. It wasn't always easy, but this team earned it.
I think what this team has is where we lack talent, we have grit and just desire to win. And there's so much team culture here. We all just wanted it from the get-go. And I remember Coach Pickett said the very first night, if you want it, you're here on the bus with us, but if you don't want it, get off the bus now. You're just going to drag us down, and everybody bought in and wanted it. And so I think that's kind of what led us to victory.
Yeah, I was a part of one of the teams to win a state championship, and I was also part of the team to lose and end the streak. But I think being able to experience both really was unique, you know, because a lot of people haven't. And going from that, you know, having the feeling of winning it and then having the feeling of losing it, you know, like this year I was like, I don't want that feeling again, you know, like I want to win just like we did in the other year. So definitely, like, nobody wanted to be part of the team that lost it all, but I mean, it was going to come eventually. But definitely flipping the script was, I mean, not easy, but it was motivating for sure to be the team to get it back on track. And so I think that's super special that we got to create a new legacy.
Adversity, man, this team went through a lot of junk, and they just kept showing up. 18 different lineups, formation change, 24 games, 18 different lineup changes, and different people stepping up on different nights and just coming together. And
We had a 7th grader score a half volley off a cross against Lakeland Christian, and with 7 minutes left to beat them 1-0. Just stuff that you don't bank on happening just seemed to happen with this team.
Really remarkable. I'll point out as well that in the finals against the Pine School, the star player for the opposition for St. John's Country Day, a player by the name of Giovanna Wakesman, who had scored 84 goals in 17 games this season. 84 goals in 17 games. Great plan by St. John's Country Day. Well executed. Shut her down. Did not allow her to score anything in the state championship game. Congrats to St. John's Country Day. Be sure to join us every Tuesday night at 6 on 1010XL for the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour. That's on 1010 AM. You can also listen online or on demand at 1010XL.com. Still to come, the Premier League returning to action. What to expect from one of the big games this weekend. That's next as the Sporting Jacks Report rolls on. You can watch the Sporting Jacks Report just about every Saturday before the start of Premier League broadcasts on NBC. The next 2 weeks will be at 12:30 on Saturday. You can also find us on demand on First Coast News Plus and the Sporting Jacks YouTube channel, or just set that DVR. Coming up on Tuesday, Arsenal hosts Fulham. This after Arsenal's match against Chelsea. Mauricio, going to be an interesting time for the second place team in the Premier League. They're in the Champions League, but really have no shot at catching Liverpool at the top of the league title. So kind of an interesting decision to be made in terms of player usage and what they focus on.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder, how much emphasis on roster management they're putting on the Premier League. Every game matters, and you certainly don't want to lose positioning, because if you lose positioning, then all of a sudden it's not attractive, you're not on TV anymore, and there's a whole balance of scale that needs to kind of go into that equation. But certainly Champions League, and now with Liverpool out of the way, they're representing the EPL and the Champions League as the favorite, and I think they will take it. I think they will take Champions League position, even if they get to the final of Champions League. And eventually lose to someone, can they be a team this year that captures a significant title? And if the Premier League is out of the way, then Champions League becomes their focus.
Of course, we have FA Cup in between now and then as well. A lot of competitions going on. Interesting, something we talked about on our weekly podcast, the Sporting Pod. Would you rather win the Champions League if you're Arsenal, or if you're Liverpool, would you rather win the Premier League? And would either of those teams change opportunities for where they are right now? Both very prestigious honors for sure. Of course, Arsenal's been very close to winning a big title, haven't done it in a while. Any kind of big-time hardware would be big for Arsenal. For Liverpool, it's a chance to say they're the best in the Premier League. Hey, be sure to follow us for everything going on with Sporting Jacks on social media, whether it's on X or Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok. Follow us for the very latest on pro soccer in Jacksonville. Thanks so much for watching the Sporting Jacks Report. We'll see you next week.